What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the third iteration, the third episode of the No Name Podcast. I'm your host, Zach, joined by my co-host, Andrew. We're here to break down UFC 326, but before we do, we have some news that we're going to kind of cover, and most importantly, we're going to talk about UFC Mexico City. But before we do, Andrew, how you doing tonight, man?
Doing great. You know, it's been too long. It's been over a month since we've had our last pay-per-view or whatever the hell we're calling them now. Can't wait. 2 fan favorites this weekend. It's going to be electric.
So what are they called now? I've heard people go with the numbered events. I think Ariel Helwani was trying to go with like PLE, which I don't even know what that stands for, to be quite honest. But yeah, we were still going with pay-per-view, right?
They're pay-per-views. They're also pay-per-views for like most of the world except us. You know, the PLE Premier Live event, that's what the WWE is using. But we're not fake on this program. So I think we just be sticking with the pay-per-view.
You're right. We are not fake, and fuck PLE, man. We're sticking with pay-per-view, but UFC Mexico just transpired, and there is a plethora of different stories you could talk about. Wasn't really the best card. I don't think there wasn't really the most name. The name recognition wasn't there. The fights themselves, I really didn't think were too great, but I thought Loner Kavanagh was absolutely fantastic in that main event, and he just handled Brandon Moreno in really an uncompetitive fight there. Andrew, what did you make of that performance by Loner Kavanagh, and did you expect that?
I didn't expect it, but I'm not surprised. I think that a lot of people, everyone has blinders on in MMA. You're only as good as your last fight. And of course, you know, the visual of Loner Kavanagh getting knocked out by Charles Johnson in Shanghai last year was a tough one, but he did have a great first round. He did, you know, his Contender Series performance was one of the best of that season. So was I surprised? I was not surprised because stylistically he is so good. Technically he is so strong. So, you know, he's so young, but he's so smart in the cage. But I definitely did not see. I didn't think he was going to beat up Brandon Moreno the way he had. But my gosh, just the power, the kicks at range. The fight IQ to me stood out as well once Moreno really realized his way to win was just going to be kind of hold a cage. I was impressed by that 5th round in particular by Kavanagh. Really impressed. Really impressed.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I had a bunch of people text me on Saturday and they were like, what do you think about Brandon Moreno? What do you think about Brandon Moreno? And I'm like, well, glad to know you don't listen to my podcast, first off. Second off, glad to know you didn't see my Instagram post. But jokes aside here, I did have Brandon Moreno winning that fight. That was my prediction. But to everyone that did ask me, I was like, dude, I really could see Loner Kavanagh winning this fight. If he does, I would not be in the slightest surprised. But I didn't think he would dispose of Brandon Moreno in the way in which he did. Like, I rewatched that fight, man, and 49-46, I had it, and really an uncompetitive 49-46. It wasn't like those rounds were close ones in which Loner Kavanagh kind of edged out, and you look back on it, 49-46, you hear the scorecard, and you're like, oh, man, that was kind of a beatdown, but it was really close if you watch the rounds. No. And the visual showed that Loner Kavanagh won that fight definitively as well. So very intrigued to see what they do next with Loner Kavanagh, because, I mean, he's ranked 5th. There's not too much more runway to go before you're fighting, you know, for that belt. And I guess his name's already in that conversation, but I kind of would like to see him not go so quickly. What do you think about that?
I actually was just about to say that. I would like for them to slow this kid down for 2. Look, it's a big win, right? In that we talked about 2 weeks ago, the opportunity that was in front of this kid, and, you know, he took it and grabbed it, I would say. But because of the flyweight situation right now, like, there is a lot of traffic at flyweight. Of course, we have Tatsuro Taira versus Joshua Van in April in Miami. You've got Manel Kopp, who's right there, probably deserves a title shot. You, of course, have Alejandro Pantoja right there. You've got Kyoji Horiguchi right there. You have names who you could conceivably put into a title shot. I would love to see this kid get more miles. He's very young. He's actually not, I think he's like 27, 28. He's not as young as people, like, he's not 23. But I would love to see him, like, fight 2 more times before fighting, you know, win 2 more fights before fighting for a championship, just because there are so many other options at flyweight. And I want to see some of those guys get the opportunity to fight for a title before this kid needs to, in my opinion.
26. So you're right. Not too young. Yeah. I turned 26 in November as well. So it was 25. I was kind of curious on that myself. I'm going to be honest, and this is so contradictory to what I just said. I do think a matchup with Kyoji Horiguchi is very, very fun. And I think that's one that the fans would very much enjoy. But I would kind of prefer them to look down in the rankings, to be quite honest, which you just never see after a young fighter wins up, fighting up in the rankings. You never see them look back down. It's always look up. So I just don't know what direction the UFC is going to go here. But I guess Kavanagh kind of tied their hands with the performance he had there over Brandon Moreno.
And that's kind of always the risk you have when you have such a large discrepancy of ranking v ranking. Like, I remember this happened when Sean O'Malley beat Petr Yan. He was ranked, I think he was 11th, and Petr was 1. And so he wins, and you're like, well, shit, he just beat the number one he beat the number one guy on paper in the world. Like, there's nothing else for him. He's fighting for a title. Now, he was a bigger superstar, of course, at the time than I think Loner Kavanagh is right now. But, you know, one name that I've been throwing around, and this might be too low for him, but two guys that I've been looking at, I would love to see him fight Alex Perez. Perez had a great win against Charles Johnson in January, a guy who obviously beat Loner Kavanagh. We got to talk about that in a second, too. But I would love to see him fight Alex Perez. The other fight that I know that's been rumored is Steve Erceg versus Tim Elliott in Perth. I've seen some rumors about that. Tim Elliott had that great win over Kaya Sakura last year. Erceg is obviously a former championship contender. So one of those names, like if we're going to throw in with Horiguchi, that's great. There's just a chance that goes horribly and he loses that fight. I mean, Kyoji's incredible. And he loses that fight, and then he's lost 2 of his last 3, and he's got this like whack win over Brandon Moreno, and no one knows what to do with him. So I would actually like to see them slow him down a little bit. We'll see if that happens, but flyweights really fun right now. It's really exciting. It's young guys. It's hungry guys. It feels like very well-rounded guys as well. It doesn't feel like we've got a lot of specialists. So they can't eat this Reese's run.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong there at all, man. Now, moving on, the co-main event there, we had David Martinez took out Marlon Chito Vera. And I think without watching the fight, anyone could say how a Chito Vera fight's going to go. Output's probably not going to be there. Going to start slow. He's going to lose a decision because Chito Vera just is allergic to being able to win decisions. He can't win minutes, man. He can't win minutes. Martinez much faster. What did you make of that fight, Andrew?
Yeah, the tweet I saw that I think perfectly encapsulates Chito Vera right now is he's one of the fighters where you feel like if you had a joystick controlling him, you'd be way better. Like, it's just, you know, he has all – you like that? I'm good.
No, it's a good one, man.
All the talent in the world, like so athletically gifted. That knockout of Dominic Cruz, I will replay in my head for a long time. Like, has the fight IQ, sees that Cruz is going to the right, lands the head kick. It's a beautiful knockout. The frustrating thing for me has been the output. But more importantly, it's not a cardio problem because he always wins the third round. He had a competitive third round against Davis and Figueiredo. He had a competitive third round against whoever he fought last, I forget. He had a competitive third round. He won the third round against David Martinez. And so my problem is I just don't understand why it is such a slow start early. He's always been a low output guy. He beat Rob Font in a main event and got outstruck by him by like 90 strikes, but he knocked him down like 5 times. And that is the most like classic Chito Vera performance. Sit on your punches, rely on your power. But now that he's gotten a little bit older, he's a little bit slower, these guys are able to catch up with him. And it's a complete output problem. I think he's lost 4 in a row. Look, he's a fan favorite. They totally missed the opportunity to go to Ecuador. I guess you have Michael Morales now, so you could still maybe swing that. But he was the champion of Ecuadorian MMA. But it's just sad to see because you truly think he has more to give in the octagon and he just can't do it.
And the thing is, you can't even feel bad or like bat an eye twice about it because it's every single fight, man. And it's to the point where it's like, I just kind of think you're a moron. Like, I don't know what else to say, quite frankly, here regarding Chito Vera. Now, I don't even know what they do next with a guy like Chito. I guess he's just there in a sense to kind of gatekeep at this point. I'm not really too sure what the role of Chito Vera is in the future, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I think he's going to fight like a Vinicius Oliveira, somebody who's like could use like the UFC and could use the bump, right? That was a matchup I'd like if Vinicius doesn't move up to 145 pounds. But we had talked about like who Oliveira needs to fight versus who they will give him. You and I both kind of think maybe like a top 20 guy, maybe not a top 15 guy for Oliveira, but it feels like Chito is very beatable right now, but it's still someone who people will care about. He was a co-main event of this card, and like they had sold him as the co-attraction for the card. And so that's kind of the type of names I think he's going to get. He's going to get people that the UFC want to build. They want to put star power behind. But I'm curious what you think of David Martinez because he's only fought 3 times in the UFC. He's obviously 3-0. I thought he looked good, but I didn't think he looked great against Chito Vera. What do you think his ceiling is at 135 pounds?
I don't see David Martinez as a guy that'll be touching the belt per se, but I think David Martinez very realistically could be like a top 5 guy in this division. Listen, he's still relatively young. He got past the Rob Font test, which is not an easy test to really get past. And I mean, I think he passed it pretty damn well, to be quite honest. Looked very fast in that fight, was able to just kind of coast past Font. And I thought he looked pretty damn good here against Chito Vera as well. And I think Chito is a guy who can kind of gatekeep a lot of this division. So good test here for David Martinez, good test to get by at a young age. So I think top 5 is very realistic for Martinez. Now, doesn't sound like you're as high on him as I might be. Do you think that's too big of a bullish statement there? Top 5?
I mean, he's going to be ranked like 8th like tomorrow. So
yeah.
he's not that far. Bantamweight is not as deep as it was, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. Like, I don't think I would pick him to beat like Song Yadong, right? And that's like the fringe top 5 kind of guy I think of. And like, I just do think there is another level there. There's another echelon that he will be unable to reach. But like the Corey Sandhagens, Song Yadongs of the world, like I just don't think he's as good as those guys. But like, could he be competitive against like an older Davison Figueiredo now? Like, yeah, I think he could. So there's opportunities for him. The UFC could use Mexican stars, of course, because there really aren't any right now. And it feels like Brandon Moreno is giving up that pedestal. Exagrasso isn't holding a championship. Yair Rodriguez doesn't fight. So there's not too many guys to like carry that Mexican flag. So, you know, like if you want to put some chips around David Martinez and try and give him like a layup to get him into the, you know, top 5 of bantamweight, I could see that happening, but I don't think he's championship potential.
Now, if I'm looking here at the bantamweight division, when I'm saying top 5, it's actually tough. You have Mario Bautista right ahead of him. He's ranked 8th. He's not better than Mario Bautista. I think Mario is probably one of the 3 best guys in this division, potentially 4 best guys. I don't know. It gets tough, man. You have Corey Sandhagen up there, obviously Sean O'Malley, Umar Nurmagomedov. I mean, Merab Dvalishvili's getting older. Piotr Jan's pretty damn young still. I would take him over Davison Figueiredo.
I was going to say the 2 names that stand out to me are Figueiredo and Zahabi. I can't believe Bautista is ranked behind those guys. I know Zahabi's on this crazy like 9-fight win streak, but he hasn't really beaten anyone. He beat like Chito Vera. Like that was one of, you know, he beat Chito Vera and Jose Aldo. Like those just aren't wins in my opinion in the same way. But like, would I pick David Martinez to beat Zahabi or Figgy? Maybe. But the other 6, Bautista, Song, Sandhagen, O'Malley, Nurmagomedov, Merab, Piotr Jan. I just think there's one more level. I talk about this all the time, but the gap between everybody else and the top 15 is large. The gap between the top 15 and the top 5 is the widest gap in the sport. It is so hard to break into. How many guys have we seen get into like 8 and never get higher because they can't beat like the 4th best guy? They can't beat Corey Sandhagen, right? Because those guys are the elite of the elite. So we'll see. I mean, he's going to get an opportunity. But we'll see if he can do it.
But one thing, though, that I do want to add in here is if I'm talking about 5 years down the line, which is when David Martinez prime theoretically would be that young 30 mark, that 31, 32, you're looking at it. Davison Figueiredo is gone. Ayman Zahabi's gone. Corey Sandhagen's gone. Sean O'Malley, probably gone. Like I don't see Sean O'Malley realistically fighting in the bantamweight division 5 years from now. And not saying he can't do it physically. I just don't think Sean O'Malley would be. Merab, gone. So, like, granted, you're going to have a new wave of guys come in behind them. So, like, the whole landscape's going to change. But I don't know. When I'm looking at it 5 years down the line, things could be so much different. So, I don't know, man. I'm high on David Martinez for the time being. And he's just now kind of getting that competition, that experience against that upper echelon of competition. So, I think there's still a lot of room for David Martinez to still grow here. Now, before we spend too much time here talking about this division, because I think we could probably spend a whole episode, we should move on. You talked about Mexican stars and lack thereof. There's one guy who I really think the UFC was trying to push, and not even think, I know they were trying to push, Daniel Zellhuber, who went out there and just got beat down by King Green. I mean, absolutely beat down and put away in an embarrassing fashion. Now, one thing I do want to say about Daniel Zellhuber is I think it was only a matter of time before that chin was going to go after that war with Esteban Ribovics, and then he got dropped by Michael Johnson. The writing, I guess, was on the wall. I just didn't think King Green would be the guy to, you know, actually finish the job there and knock him out. What did you make of that fight? And do you think Daniel Zellhuber still deserves to be on the UFC roster?
He deserves to be on a UFC roster because he's Mexican and they need Mexicans. Like there is a lack of Mexican talent.
So he's a DEI fucking hire.
Yeah, I mean, they put a PI in Mexico City. Like they're trying to invest. I mean, look at Raul Rosas Jr. this weekend, right? Like they're trying. Like they are really. This is a massive market, and they have a major gap. Like Manuel Torres is fighting Beneil Dariush. Like that's crappy matchmaking. They just want their Mexican guy to blow up a ranked lightweight, right? So like they're really trying. But this result did not surprise me at all. I actually picked King Green. I was proud of my pick. I felt very highly about Daniel Zellhuber because I rate Esteban Ribovic so high, and he was able to go toe-for-toe with him at the Sphere. What a fight that was, by the way. That might be the last great fight we ever get out of his career, but that was a hell of a fight.
100%. I think they're gone. I think that was it.
Oh, done. In the Michael Johnson fight in Louisiana last year, I'm like, what the fuck is this kid doing? Like, just no fight IQ, unable to listen to his coaches. And more importantly, and my biggest problem, if you lose a fight, it happens. But what did you think was going to, like, where the fuck was the game plan? I felt the same way with Anthony Hernandez last week with Sean Strickland. What do you mean you're surprised by the jab? Like, you have a 9-week camp. Like, I could have told you as your head coach, like, that's what you need to be preparing for. And, you know, the movement of Zellhuber, the way you lose to Bobby Green is you let him do Bobby Green things. You have an inability to cut him off from the cage, and you land damage. Go watch the way he handled Nasrat Haqparast, and then go watch the way he fought Jalen Turner, okay? There is a way to beat Bobby Green, and there is a way to get, or King Green, whatever the fuck his name is. There's a way to get King Green, and there's a way to lose to him. And you just feel like you didn't watch any film. He's massive, by the way. He's like 175 pounds. He looks like another weight class in there, and he has no offensive output, and he's slow. So I don't know what to do with him. Maybe the weight cuts are getting bad, and you move him up to 170. There was a time when people were talking about this kid like he was something. So, and look, shout out to King Green, 39 years old or 38 years old. Like, that's a hell of a performance. Like, regardless of who the opponent is, this is clearly not someone who you or I think is going to be something at 155 pounds. But, like, that's a hell of a performance from King Green. And he has fought a who's who. He's fought Islam Makhachev, fought Paddy Pimblett. He's fought some real guys in this division. Knocked out Grant Dawson. Like, he has some wins.
Yeah, hats off to King Green. He's also just kind of an inspirational story in general. Like, if you heard the story about his brother getting killed with his dad when he was young, like, super sad stuff. So I do like to see King Green get in the win column here. Now, Daniel Zellhuber, what is next for him? Well, if we're talking about moving to 170, there's currently not a PFL 170-pound champ, and that might be his best shot of ever coming close to gold. So, I mean, maybe he can go over there, win a fight, and then fight our boy Thad Jean or something for that strap. I don't know, man, but
I don't want to see that. Poor Daniel Zellhuber. Thad Jean will absolutely, our boy will absolutely smoke that dude.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. I don't know what to do with this guy. All I know is you can't go from being a minus 800 favorite to a minus 600 favorite, lose both of them, and stay on this roster, man. Like, that was just an abysmal performance. And talk about wanting to hold the controller and thinking you could be much better than the guy, man, because he's the guy too. Like, just the lack of output. And it's like, why? Like, you want to beat Bobby Green, man? You got to throw punches, and chances are you're probably going to put him out. Throw some high volume, get in his face. Like, you're going to probably put him away. And I don't know if he's trigger shot. Like, he gets in there and he's like, fuck, man, I just got dropped my last fight. I don't even know, like, what's going through his head when he's fighting. Like, that's kind of what I'm getting at, but I don't know, man. Hats off again to King Green. Daniel Zellhuber, I would like to see him. I would like to see that removed from roster pop up on Twitter for Daniel Zellhuber shortly, though.
Man. Yeah, I mean, the one saving grace I will give Daniel Zellhuber is there was clearly an archetype that he loses to, but I will say that King Green and Michael Johnson are very similar fighters, right? Speed, move their head, traditional boxers, old veteran guys. Like, give Daniel Zellhuber like a grappler. Like, see what happens. If he can't defensively wrestle, like, great, cut him. But he kind of basically lost like the same archetype of fighter twice. And these aren't bad guys. Like, Michael Johnson's fighting Drew Dober this weekend. If he wins, he'll be ranked. So, like, or like fringe. ranking. And King Green is obviously like has fought in main events before, has won UFC main events. So
what about Trey Ogden though? Because he also has the loss of Trey Ogden.
Yeah, I know, and that one's not as good. Yeah,
and then the wins though that you got to hype up, like looking at like Francisco Prado.
Dude, that's a good name. Ribovich is a good name. Like that's the problem. Like he's actually beaten some dude. Like there was a time
he beat one dude. Lucas Almeida is not. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what they do with this guy. Yeah. To say the very least, man. To say the very least. But last bit of news and last bit of stuff to really talk about on this card. Shout out Imanol Rodriguez, man. Like that kid is a fucking tank. Gets knocked down twice. He kind of does 2 knockdowns in that first round. Actually, if you look at the stats, really wasn't. Gets knocked down, kind of wobbles back up. Then he's back down. Then he's on top of him, laying down ground and pound for 3 minutes. One judge actually gave him round 1. Comes out round 2, just starches the dude, puts him away. Very interesting there. Now, I'm curious, how highly do you personally rate Imanol Rodriguez? Because I can't talk about the guy enough myself.
Hey, this made me think about Toporia's fight against Jai Herbert in London all those years ago. I don't know if I know you remember it because you're a ball knower, but like the listeners out there, Ilia Topuria gets kicked in the head round 1 against Jai Herbert, and he bounces back and he knocks out Jai Herbert in the second round, one of the scariest knockouts you ever seen. You can't teach that type of grit, toughness, and the ability to reset. And for this young kid, to come back like that at home, at elevation, which not enough people talk about for this card, like you're 6,000 feet up, really, really impressive. He's young. Like, I don't know if I'm going to crown him like a champion right now, but clearly has the skills. He was a huge favorite coming in. You think you're going to win the fight. You get caught with something early and you're able to bounce back. I was similarly very impressed with the kid. And Kevin Borjas is pretty good. That's not like no chump at 125 pounds. So we'll see. Want to see him be built a little bit, but you can't teach grit, and that will stay with you the rest of your career. Like once you have it, you have it. So it's a good performance to give him some experience within the cage. And yeah, I'm excited to see where he goes. It's going to be fun.
And I think Kevin Borjas actually, I think he dropped Joshua Van too when they fought. I could be off there, but I know he clipped him. But talking about exciting Mexican prospects as well, Santiago Luna, that's another one, man. So if you look at him and Imanol Rodriguez, those are 2 exciting Mexican prospects. Luna, the outputs there, man, he throws a lot, very fun to watch, hits hard. So another guy to keep the eye on as well. I don't know if you have anything you want to add on the topic of Santiago Luna, but if not, let's we can move on to some fight news.
All I want to say is I think I'm going to get knocked out by Charles Johnson next week, and then my life is going to improve exponentially after that point because, look, I have said Charles Johnson for a long time when he puts the pieces together is one of the best 5 flyweights in the world. Like he is so good when he is on and he is so shit when he's not. Like there really is a big gap. He's going to be getting the Michael Johnson memes of like he'll beat anyone and lose to anyone in the same night. But he was like trending, like his name was trending on Twitter after the Loner Kavanagh performance this weekend, and rightfully so. You have a knockout win over the current UFC champion. How about fun fact? Besides Israel Adesanya, I don't quote me on this, but I believe he is the only rostered fighter to have a knockout over a current champion. I don't know if that's 100% true, but Petr Yan's never been knocked out. I guess Topuria and Volkanovski. So there was some stat dealing with that or something like that. Adrian Martinez is not on the roster anymore for Islam haters out there. But anyway, it's really impressive performance. And it sucks if he had beaten Alex Perez, like this would have been awesome. Because then it would have been like, holy shit, this guy has 2 wins. Like, we're going to push Charles Johnson. He's such a great guy, such a great story. Losing that fight is getting knocked out in that fight is detrimental. But just wanted to give a shout out to Charles Johnson. I'm a big energy guy, and shows his class again this weekend without even fighting.
Yeah, 100%, man. I saw him tweeting about the fight as well, just shouting out Loner Kavanagh, talking about how he was able to easily outbox Brandon Moreno. I thought that was pretty funny. Like, got to give credit to the guy you knocked out, right? You know, just kind of prop yourself up a little bit. But moving on to some fight announcement and fight news in general, UFC 327, Jiri Prochazka will be taking on Carlos Ulberg for the vacant light heavyweight title. Very fun fight. Now, I wonder how they wound up on Jiri and Ulberg. Like, Yuri's been on I understand both guys have been on a run here. Now, I guess my question is, where does Magomed Ankalaev kind of fall into the mix because he wins the belt against Pereira, right? Rematches, loses it. Now, is he one fight away from fighting for the belt again? Because like now that Pereira's not there, I think they probably could have justified Ank fighting again, but I don't think like as far as the styles go and just the name, I don't think the fans necessarily wanted that. What do you make of Ankalaev kind of getting left out here?
Yeah, I think it's hard to give a championship opportunity to someone who just lost, like who has lost their last fight. When you have a vacant title, you want to have two surging guys. I would feel differently if there weren't a clear alternative. But for me, Carlos Ulberg, 7 or 8 fight win streak, knockout win over Dominic Reyes at Perth last year, like great. Jiri Prochazka coming off of that tough knockout against Alex Pereira. He has an incredible 2025, knocks out Jamal Hill, knocks out Khalil Rountree, like great. Like you can sell that to me all day. You've got Yuri's a superstar. And Ulberg is someone they'd like to build. Like he's got all of the stuff to be a real UFC champion. And so I would have no problem with it. I would have more of a problem with it if there weren't two clear deserving guys and the stylistic matchup is so interesting. But as kind of we talked about when we were kicking around like heavyweight last week, like Ank is in a very good position. The best possible thing for his career and his championship aspirations is Alex Pereira to move up because now you don't have that ghost to follow you anymore. And he's in the mix. Who's he going to fight? I'm not sure. You know, you have Khalil Rountree out there. You've got the Asmat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa fight on the same card as this one. So feels like it's going to be a little bit of moving for light heavyweight, but like if Jiri Prochazka wins the title, the name everyone's going to be saying is Magomed Ankalaev should be fighting for the belt. So I think he's in a pretty good spot. I'm excited to see this matchup. We talked about it last week. Stylistically, it is so interesting. I think it's a good test for Jiri. And more importantly, it's an excellent main event. It's a great championship main event.
Yeah, and let me just say, like, I'm not against this title fight being made. I'm actually for it. I just find it interesting that I haven't even seen anyone on Twitter or anyone online even float Magomed Ankalaev's name. And that's more what I find interesting. I'm completely fine with the Jiri versus Carlos Ulberg matchup. Completely fine with it. I just think it's funny. Like, this Magomed was the last champ. I mean, Alex, sure, then he moved up, but the last champ to attempt to defend his belt. And now he's not even talked about in the vacant championship fight. So I don't know. Interesting there. But as far as Jiri versus Ulberg goes, I actually favor Ulberg early. I just think he's a little bit more defensively sound than Jiri. Jiri leaves his chin out there, and Ulberg can crack too, man. So I do favor Ulberg early. One thing I will say is I do not foresee that one going 5 rounds.
No, that one is not going to go 5. I guess there's a scenario where Ulberg kind of just circles around Jiri a bunch, but you feel like his way to victory is like eventually to catch Jiri with something. This fight has torn me. I'm going to have to watch some film on it before I can really like make a educated pick. But to me, the main question will be like, how good is Carlos? Like, how close is Carlos Ulberg striking to Alex Pereira's? Like, that's basically the question. Because if it's not good enough, Jiri will run him over, right? And Jiri has had no Alexander Rakic, great striking, good defensive guy, ran him over. Khalil Rountree, great striking, great defensive guy, ran him over. Jamal Hill, same thing. Volkan Ozdemir, same thing. Dominic Reyes, right? Like Jiri is starting to rack up some serious names at 205, but there is an archetype to beat him. So it's a really interesting matchup. This fight falls on Ulberg. Like, you know what Yuri's going to do. You know what Yuri's going to do. So
I'm going to be honest, man. I don't know if any of those guys you mentioned are as defensively sound as Carlos Ulberg, though.
Khalil Rountree is very good.
And then if you even look at and he gassed the fuck out. So,
but as you talk about more than anybody, that's because you're fighting your fight, and it must be exhausting. Dominic Reyes, before he got spinning elbowed in the head, was huffing and puffing in that fight. He won 5 with Jon. So like it's a cardio thing, but it is this dude is throwing flying knee, he doesn't know what he's throwing in the octagon sometimes. Like, he's throwing so much offense, such varied offense, and he's so athletic and so gifted that it's just exhausting to fight him. Look, Ulberg's great. If he figures out to circle, he has a great team behind him too. Like, that's the other thing, is you feel like Eugene Berriman and those guys at City Kickboxing are gonna watch the Jiri tape and are gonna find some stuff. But it's not like a fight you're going into knowing you're gonna get out clean. Like, you got to get fucked up a little bit by Jiri in order to win the fight. So, like, he's like, he might be the most exciting fighter in the roster. So, it's a fantastic fight.
And what this fight being made means, and like I mentioned earlier, for the vacant title, that means Alex Pereira is moving up to heavyweight. Now, we've been texting about this. It seems like the White House against Jon Jones is picking up a lot of momentum. A lot of momentum. I think that's the fight that they're going to make. At least that's the fight that they're definitely trying to make right now. Whether it gets made or not, I guess that's to be determined. I guess we'll find out this week if Dana White announces it. As he said, we will be hearing about the main event of the White House this week. But even if that's not the fight that's made and Alex Pereira is fighting Ciryl Gane, what do you make of Alex Pereira moving up to heavyweight in general?
It's a really exciting opportunity. And I really do think it is I would have actually really liked to see Alex Pereira versus Carlos Ulberg. That fight intrigued me. And I felt like there was one more guy for Alex to beat before he moved up. But from a pure business perspective, like if you're Alex Pereira, defending your title against a guy who was very good and could give you problems versus going up to heavyweight and having the opportunity to be the first fighter in the history of the 35 years of the sport to win a UFC championship at 3 weight classes would be incredible. So it's just amazing. Like if he's the guy to do it, think about it might be if he fights Jones, it's interesting because I'm not sure if Jones is going to have a title. Maybe they do an interim title or something because Aspinall's out. And I want to talk about the heavyweight division a little bit with you. But I think he needs to be fighting for a championship because it will be maybe the most career-defining fight in the history of anybody's career, right? Think about the gap where he's at. If he's a 2-division champion who defended his title multiple times, has a win over Israel Adesanya, beat Yuri twice, that's amazing. If he's the only guy ever to have 3 titles in 3 weight classes, 185, 205, and heavyweight, that puts him in some GOAT. I don't know if he's GOAT conversation, but it will be something that no one else has done before, which you can't say about a lot of things in the sport. So it's an amazing opportunity. He deserves it, right? It's not like some guy who has gotten everything handed to him. He takes every fight. He saved 2024. He was the main event of the biggest card in the last 5 years. It would kind of be right for him to be the next biggest main event of the next 5 years with the White House. So it's an amazing opportunity. Can he win? I don't know. But I'm so pumped to see it. I'm so pumped to see it.
If he is able to beat Jon Jones, and I think they're trying to strip Tom Aspinall. I think they're trying to strip Tom Aspinall. I think they want to strip Aspinall. And I think Aspinall is putting in some sort of caveat where he's like, if you're going to strip me, I want you to release me as well. And that's at least what I think Helwani's reported. He's heard rumblings of that. I don't know if that's true or not. Listen, man, if they want to strip Aspinall,
I'll be so pissed.
Fuck it, strip him. Fuck it, strip him.
No,
strip him. Make this a vacant. Dude, if you have, I know you don't even need to make it a title fight between Jon Jones and Alex Pereira, but if you're making that fight, please at least give Alex Pereira the chance to be the first 3-division champ in history. I don't want him to win and not have that feat as well, because I think that's sick. That's sick, man. And as far as can he do it, if you want my honest opinion, the answer is no. I think Jon Jones would open as a -5, -600 favorite. I think stylistically, it's just an absolutely awful matchup for Alex Pereira. But at the end of the day, if anyone can do it, it's him with that power. It is the fight game. One punch can change everything, but Jon Jones is just a fucking nightmare of a matchup for him.
It's a bad. I'll be really mad I'll be really mad if they strip Tom Aspinall because we were in this situation for 18 months and Tom didn't do anything. It was not his fault. He waited for John. He waited for John. He waited for John. John never came. As soon as he had the opportunity to fight, he fought, and it wasn't his fault. It's different. Jamal Hill tore his Achilles while playing basketball. Yuri hurt his shoulder lifting weights. It was outside the octagon. And so then it's like an external injury. You can't fight. You're there. This was an intentional foul. It doesn't matter intentional. It was a foul in a fight. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care if Tom fights till the end of the year. He deserves to have the heavyweight championship right now. You want to throw an interim title, it's still 3-weight class championship. If you want to do that for John, Alex, because you want to have a belt on the White House card, great. I don't think the fight needs it. And there's an argument that beating Jon Jones is maybe the one thing more impressive than winning a belt in 3 weight classes because he's Jon Jones. But I would be quite disappointed with the UFC if after all of this, they strip Tom Aspinall. Now, my greater question to you is, there is a real scenario that people aren't talking about, that he doesn't fight Jon Jones, he fights Ciryl Gane. And that would be, Ciryl Gane will then have fought Francis Ngannou, Jon Jones, Alex Pereira, Tom Aspinall, with none of them having fought each other, which would just be such a detriment to the heavyweight division. What do you think?
No, that's crazy. That's a crazy stat. Just kind of took a second to digest that. And once you said Francis Ngannou, I just started thinking about what the fuck is that guy doing? The answer is absolutely nothing.
Not fighting.
Yeah, not fighting. I don't know if he'll fight again, to be quite honest, but his PFL contract should be up this year. But no, that's an absolutely insane statistic there. And it's an interesting fight, man. I think a lot of people just favor Alex initially, and I don't necessarily know why, because no one really beats Ciryl Gane on the feet, man. Very hard to do. I mean, Francis Ngannou wrestled him to beat him, so he didn't want to do it. Jon Jones took him down right away. Tom Aspinall was struggling a bit on the feet, and then obviously we saw what happened there. So, Ciryl Gane's a very, very difficult puzzle to figure out, man. And I don't know. It's a very interesting fight. I don't know who I'd favor in that one. I think that one would probably be a pick'em, to be quite honest with you.
So, kind of the thing that I've been playing in my head a lot is which one would I rather see? Because for the pure spectacle, Jones Pereira is obviously awesome. It's just awesome. On the White House, it's a perfect fight.
The answer is Jones Pereira. I think that has to be the answer.
It's not competitive.
No, it's not competitive.
Ciryl Gane Pereira is an actually really interesting, competitive, stylistic matchup where Alex could actually achieve history. The narrative going into Alex Jon is man, I hope Alex can stuff a takedown early to make this kind of interesting, or else it's going to be a long night. Because when Jon was on top of Stipe Miocic in the first round, I remember that's when Alex was talking about moving up, and I was like, gee, I don't think he should be moving up. This is rough. The narrative with the Gane Pereira fight will be holy shit, Alex Pereira could win a championship in 3 weight classes. So I'm torn, because the spectacle of Jones Pereira would obviously be amazing, but the Ciryl Gane fight is a more interesting fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a closer fight, but to be quite honest with you, man, I'd rather see Jon Jones back in the octagon competing against anyone than Ciryl Gane in the octagon competing against anyone, no matter what the matchup is, to be quite honest with you. There's not many more times we'll get to see Jon Jones compete, if any. And if he gets a chance to share the octagon with an absolute legend like Alex Pereira, I just can't even hype myself up and twist my mind in the right way to convince myself that the Ciryl Gane fight I'd rather see, just can't do it now. Moving on here.
There's a chance.
We'll speak a little bit less on these last two and kind of get into this UFC 326 card, but another title fight on UFC 327, we have Joshua Van taking on Tatsuro Taira. And believe it or not, Tatsuro Taira has opened as the favorite in this one, close to a -200 favorite over Joshua Van. I guess styles make fights, man, and we have not seen Joshua Van's grappling tested yet. We were supposed to see that against Pantoja. The fight didn't really play out. Andrew, do you think that the grappling here of Tatsuro Taira will be too much for Van?
My early inclination is that it will be.
Me too.
Need to watch some film. I felt pretty confident that Alexandre Pantoja was going to beat Joshua Van. I don't think Tatsuro Taira is that level of grappling. I think Alexandre Pantoja's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is basically the second best in the sport besides Charles Oliveira, and I think it's underrated even at this point. But I still have a lot to see out of Joshua Van before. Look, he's an incredible fighter. That fight against Brandon Royval was fantastic, and right place, right time, winning UFC championship. But Taira's really good, really, really good, and has gotten better. The gap between the Taira that we saw last year against Jung Young Park and against Brandon Moreno versus the Taira that fought Brandon Royval the year ago, there's a significant jump. And so my early inclination is aligns with the betting odds. I wasn't shocked by them, just because Joshua Van hasn't beaten that style of fighter yet. But it's a great matchup. It's a great matchup.
Yeah, I just think that Taira's striking will be able to hold up enough, and he'll look serviceable enough that his grappling will just kind of be too much for Van. And I was really curious to see how his takedown defense is what I really wanted to see against Alexandre Pantoja, how he looked when Pantoja got into the clinch, if he's able to fend off those trips and whatnot. And it's going to be the same question here with Tatsuro Taira, if Taira's able to get him against the cage and just work his trips. And once he has him on the ground, I mean, Taira is just very, very, very high level, and I haven't seen Van defend on the ground yet. So I'm curious, very curious to see what he looks like once he's on the ground there with a high level guy like Tatsuro Taira. Now,
Yeah.
moving on, the last bit of, did you have something else you wanted to add there? Sorry.
No, it's just shout out to UFC 327. It's a great card. It's the deepest card of the year so far. It is the best card on paper so far. And also looks like it's confirmed. UFC 328, May 9th in Newark, New Jersey, baby. We'll be talking about that. But
yes, sir.
Just wanted to put it into the wilderness that.
And speaking of, there's only two champs. There's only two male champs that can possibly fight on that card. I've done all the math. I've gone through them all. It's only Khamzat or Islam who will be main eventing that card. But you heard it here first.
Zhang Wei Li, Mackenzie Dern, but
Co-main.
Maybe
that's gonna co-main
the main event.
But you heard it here on the No Name podcast. Breaking news that either Islam Makhachev or Khamzat Chimaev will main event UFC Newark. I heard it from trusted sources, confirmed. Now let's move on here. Last bit of fight news that got announced. We have Carlos Prates taking on Della Maddalena, May 2nd, main eventing Perth. Absolute banger of a fight. And my early inclination here is that you can't stand up and bang with Carlos Prates for 25 minutes and stay conscious. I don't know if Della Maddalena is going to be able to. Andrew, what do you think about this one, man?
But you can stand up with Carlos Prates for 25 minutes and stay conscious if your name is Ian Machado Gary.
No, he wrestled, bro. He wrestled.
Shout out IMG, by the way. I actually lean pretty towards Della Maddalena. I say this all the time. This is like one of my tropes. The fight after you lose a championship is one of the most important fights of your career. Because if you win it, if you're Diego Lopez and you knock out John Silva after you lose your championship fight against Alexander Volkanovski, you're relevant for another 2 years. If you lose, you're done. If you're Bilal Muhammad, you're done. You lose Ian Gary, you're gone, right? Now no one cares. So it's a massive opportunity for Della Maddalena against a very difficult opponent. But I think that a lot of people, what I think is going to happen is May 2nd is going to happen and everyone's going to realize just how good Islam Makhachev is. Because I think everyone kind of took for granted how Della Maddalena, look, he beat Bilal Muhammad. It was a good fight. It was a great performance. And then he got run over. But he got run over by the best fighter in the sport. And I think that Della Maddalena is going to remind a lot of people why he is a former UFC champion. But holy shit, man. If Carlos Prates knocks out 2 former UFC welterweight champions in a row, back to back in Madison Square Garden and Perth, you're not going to be able to deny him a championship opportunity. So it's an incredible fight on the feet too. I think the way JDM deals with the range is going to be the most important part of that fight. We have seen JDM handle tall, lanky guys before. Did a great job with Randy Brown and their fight in Perth. But that's like a legit fighters fight main event. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think that the size of Prates and JDM being a counter striker, I think it's going to be a little difficult for, like you said, I know he has fought lanky guys before, but just not with the death touch that Carlos Prates has. And there's very few guys that just have that power in their fist that once they touch you, it can just put you out. And it's just a scary game knowing that Della Maddalena is not going to try to take down Carlos Prates. He doesn't have that in his bag, where Ian Gary did. And Ian Gary went to that frequently. And when he didn't, he got fucking lit up in round 5. Now, I had Ian Gary in that fight, man. I picked Ian Gary. I thought he fought a beautiful fight. Ian Gary just probably has one of the best fight IQs in mixed martial arts in general. So, shout out Ian Gary there. He's a fucking gamer, man. But for a fact this fight's going to be on the feet for all 25 minutes. And that's just such a dangerous game to play with Carlos Prates, man. So, I lean Prates early just because I think the finishing upside is just higher. And 25 minutes is a long time, man. But that is an absolute banger. And it wouldn't surprise me if JDM is able to pull that one out. He'll probably, you think, be the betting favorite, no?
I actually haven't seen an early line. I would say that it would be like minus 150 JDM.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like a slight favorite.
Yeah, but I don't think much more than that. It's hard. The betting lines don't usually favor knockout potential, right? They want round winners. And JDM is obviously a round winner, but JDM's resume is not as deep as people think. Like for a former champ, he's beaten Gilbert Burns, he beat Bilal Muhammad, and like that's kind of it. Like he beat Kevin
And that
Holland.
Gilbert Burns fight, man, that Gilbert Burns fight, he was down
shaky.
2-0, and then in the third, Gilbert Burns got a little reckless with his fucking grappling, and JDM was able to shake him off. Gilbert just rushed in on another shot and ate a knee, man. Like he was 2 minutes away from losing that fight, and I think a lot of people would have said uncompetitively as well, to be quite honest, which not that Gilbert did too much with his control there, but he had like 11 takedowns, dude. So like,
yeah, it's a great fight.
You're right.
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah, it was.
A lot of questions. Be great.
Definitely. And pretty soon we should have some answers. Now, moving on, UFC 326. The week is here, man. The card will be taking place this Saturday. Super, super pumped for it. And what I'm not pumped for is a lot of these prelims. I'm not going to lie, man. I don't think this card is too extremely deep, but once you get onto this main card and you're looking through it, the main card is pretty damn good, but we're going to pick up here with the featured prelim as Cody Garbrandt takes on Xiao Long. And former bantamweight champion Cody Garbrandt is looking for his first win since 2023 when he's coming off that KO win to Brian Kelleher. Since then, he's dropped a few in a row, has not looked fantastic. Most recently lost to Raoni Barcelos. On the other hand, Xiao Long is 1-2 since entering the UFC. It seems like the UFC is pretty high on him, putting him in a position to win here against the former champ Garbrandt. Good name recognition. Andrew, do you think Xiao Long gets the job done here?
No, I don't actually. I kind of like Cody Garbrandt in this opportunity. I will say that the most important part of this fight is the fact that it's being simulcast on CBS. We don't talk about the business too much on the show, but this will be the first fight in like 20 years in the UFC that's on like cable television. And I believe, I'm not sure if it's the Dante Johnson, Cody Brundage fight as well, but I know it's like the last chunk of the prelims going into the main card. So there's going to be a lot of people learning about Cody Garbrandt for the first time this weekend. One of like the like low key, if you know type of guys in the sport. I don't think Xiao Long is very good. That's why I kind of think this is a beatable opponent. And I think although Cody has not looked great, the Davison Figueiredo performance, I think in particular, was not a good look. Like Raoni Barcelos is comp. It's comp as hell. He just got booked with Montel Jackson like this morning. He has a win over Peyton Talbot. Like he's legit guy at bantamweight. And so I don't feel like Cody has lost to dudes, quite honestly, that are like so much better than him. His stint down at flyweight was dumb, but besides that, like beat Brian Boom Kelleher, beat somebody else like recently. He just hasn't fought enough, but I would like to see Cody Garbrandt get a win. I think this is a winnable fight for him. He's like a name, former champion or whatever. So yeah, I'm excited to see Cody Garbrandt compete. He's fun.
I think they're putting Xiao Long in this spot first off, we know for a fact they're trying to push people from this Chinese market. And I think Cody Garbrandt's like a good little test in here where it's like, okay, if you can beat Cody Garbrandt, who has that name recognition, then we can start pushing you because we know we might have something here. So I think it's in the UFC's best interest here for Xiao Long to get the job done, but fuck it, man. Like I can't pick against my boy Cody No Love here for Xiao Long. Like it just doesn't sit right with me. And at the end of the day, man, like you touched on, Cody Garbrandt's strength of competition is absolutely off the charts. And even in a lot of those fights too, it almost seems like he beats himself. Like he is so damn talented. He's fast as hell still at his old age. And I really hope that he's able to get the job done here against Xiao Long, and we can look forward to another few Cody Garbrandt fights. Because if he loses this one, I'm kind of like, all right, Cody, is it time to hang him up? But yeah, really, really hope he's able to get the job done come Saturday. Now, kicking off the main card, we have a rematch here scheduled between Gregory Robocop Rodriguez and Bruno the Hulk Ferreira. Their initial matchup took place back in January of 23, where Ferreira won by round one knockout, and I mean knockout of Robocop. He slept him pretty bad with the counter left after stepping in on short notice from, I believe Brad Tavares was the one who pulled out. And while I do believe Robocop is the more skilled one here, Andrew, what do you make of him being the favorite following getting knocked out in their first fight?
You know, I'm actually not surprised. I also favor Robocop. I just feel like from a physical standpoint, he is so good. And I know styles make fights, and that knockout loss was not good. I don't really understand why they're booking this matchup, quite honestly. Like, I think there were better guys for each dude to fight. But the way Gregory Rodriguez looked last year, like, he deserves to be the favorite in this fight. He lost to Jared Cannonier in the beginning of the year in that main event, but he looked so good. I actually made money on that fight, but he looked so good early where you can't deny the power. Then he had one of the best knockouts of the year against Jack Hermanson. And then he outstruck Roman Kopylov, who's a great fighter. So, 2 wins, 3 pretty solid performances for Robocop. Bruno Ferreira is good. He's a solid fighter. I thought he looked, strong against Marvin Vettori at the end of last year, but he hasn't really fought anyone else since that. I think he'd be Armin Petrosian somewhere in there, but I'm not shocked that Robocop is the favorite just because of the power and more importantly, the Brazilian jiu-jitsu of Robocop. Everyone forgets this because he just knocks dudes out, but he is like a multi-time BJJ black belt world champion. He's got like gold medals from different competitions and stuff. He is an elite Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner, and he never uses it. He's one of those guys. So, with that fact and there's the power, the strength that he shows, like I'm not shocked that he's a favorite. This is a great matchup, by the way. This is like on paper, maybe not a ton of stakes here. Winner puts themselves at like top 10 fringe range at 185 pounds. But from a pure matchup perspective, I think someone's getting knocked out, and like this is fun.
Extremely fun, man. Both guys, huge power. And I do think it's a bit I think the odds are a bit interesting, man, because at first I was like, well, what have both done recently? And in my mind, I just think of the hot streak that Robocop's been on. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know why Bruno Ferreira's wins just aren't as like memorable in my mind. Like I just don't think of them. But then you actually go back and and you're also like Jackson McVee being one, like Armin Petrosian, like you know what, those aren't very good names. But then you get the win over Marvin Vettori. But it's weird because like in my mind, I was thinking that Robocop's been on this great run and maybe Bruno Ferreira just hasn't been, but he's riding a 3-fight win streak himself, man. But at the end of the day, I do think Robocop is probably a bit better everywhere. Like he'll be the better grappler in this fight. I'm fine with Robocop on his feet here too, as long as he doesn't get check hooked into oblivion. Like I think Robocop and even the gas tank as well. Like if the gas tank's what scares you about Robocop, like I don't think Bruno Ferreira's gas tank's going to be fucking beautiful either, man. So like, obviously he can get slept here. Like Bruno Ferreira does have legit power, but I think this is a pretty good spot here for Robocop to get the job done.
Yep, I feel the same way.
Now, moving on here, we have a pick'em essentially as Drew Dober takes on Michael Johnson. Drew Dober most recently picked up a win against Kyle Prepolek in a very weird fight with like the groin strikes, and he got like a point taken, and then after he kicks Prepolek in the nuts, he fucking knocks him out, and that's kind of how that one went. And prior to that, the question was like, is Drew Dober's chin still there? And he did take some shots against Prepolek, so I guess it is. Now, Michael Johnson is coming in riding a 3-fight win streak, with the most recent one being to Daniel Zellhuber. So I don't know how well that one aged. Well, I do know it didn't age too well. But with all that being said here, Andrew, do you favor Johnson or Drew Dober in this one?
Probably Drew Dober, but it's a really fun, like this is like an awesome fight. Like it doesn't matter. Neither of these guys are going to be champions. There's an argument neither of these guys are going to be ranked, but like these are two guys who know how to bang. And like, that's the best, like that's the best type of fight. Should it be the 4th highest fight on a pay-per-view card? Like maybe not, but like Michael Johnson, 3-fight win streak. And although the win over Daniel Zellhuber wasn't that impressive, his knockout of Ottman Azatir, that dude's still on the canvas sleeping. That was nuts in Tampa Bay at the end of 24. And quite honestly, Drew Dober is like one of the better action fighters in the sport. I'll never forget seeing him get absolutely lit up by the steamroller, Matt Favola. I was so excited for that fight, and he wasn't able to show it in that fight. But, looking at the chin of Drew Dober, he's lost 2 of his last 3 to Jean Silva and Manuel Torres. Those are top 10 opponents, right? So like legit competition that he's lost to, and the guys, the other, and Renato Moicano. Everybody else he beats, right? He beats the lower level of competition. So I lean slightly towards Drew Dober. He's got some history, and it's a successful history. But quite honestly, I think it's just like an exciting fight between two guys who are going to bang and box. I'm actually really looking forward to this fight more than I am the other 2 fights before the main event, because it's just going to be fun.
This is a super fun fight, and what makes it more fun too is both guys are not the most durable too. So like there's some high stakes when these guys are exchanging, man. Like someone's going down, and I'm gonna side with Michael Johnson here. And The reason being is because both guys aren't too durable, and I think Michael Johnson is faster and has the higher output. So I think he'll just have more chances to land that shot to put out Drew Dober. But regardless, man, like Drew Dober will toss everything aside and just fucking go for it. And I'm very, very, very excited to see who ends up getting their hand raised Saturday night. Now, moving on here to our featured fight, we have the gatekeeper in a sense, Rob Font, taking on Raul Rosas Jr. Oh, geez, man. I haven't pulled that one out in a bit, but yeah, it was rough. But Raul Rosas Jr. is coming in off of, I think this is the longest layoff in his professional career. It's been almost a year since he last fought. And stylistically, this fight is no question mark. Rosas is going to come in here and try to grapple. He's going to try to wrestle Rob Font. Rob Font has had some questionable takedown defense in the past. Andrew, do you think Font's takedown defense can hold up enough to get the job done here?
Yo, Rob Font is one of the most confusing fighters in the sport, because every time you feel like, okay, like this guy's not that good on paper, he's not that athletic, like he's not going to win this fight, he wins. Like I thought Kyler Phillips was going to be one of the next big things at bantamweight, beats him. Jean Matsumoto, solid prospect at bantamweight, maybe not as good as we thought, but solid prospect at bantamweight, beats him. Remember when he knocked out Adrian Yanez in Miami at UFC 287? That's when Adrian Yanez was supposed to be the guy, and he knocked him out. So Rob Font like has veteran presence, like more than most. And I would feel more confident in his veteran presence if he was fighting another striker. I feel like Rob, his boxing is good, his range is good. The New England Cartel, like they figured out boxing. I don't know what to tell you. The problem is, you're totally right. The ground game has been such a problem for Rob Font. The Corey Sandhagen fight was one I was reading about yesterday. Corey tore his tricep in the first 5 minutes of that fight and won because Rob Font couldn't stop takedowns from Corey Sandhagen. And that's really what worries me here. And I think that's why this fight got booked. It's, you want to put Raul Rosas Jr. in a good spot, and you're going to give him someone who can't grapple as well. But we have seen Raul Rosas Jr. flounder before. When Christian Rodriguez was able to stuff some takedowns, he had a lot of success against Raul Rosas Jr. So it's an interesting matchup. I definitely favor Chiwiwis because he can grapple and Rob Font can't. But if Rob Font pulled out one of these classic veteran performances, I would not be shocked.
Yeah, man. Give me Rob Font in this one, actually.
Ooh, I like that.
Hey, and my reasons here being, first off, Raul Rosas Jr. has not fought anyone decent. He's been really just given a cupcake schedule, handpicked opponents. They're trying to push Rosas. I mean, he was the youngest signee in UFC history. Understood. Hasn't fought anyone. I'm not convinced his gas tank is there either. We kind of saw that fade in his loss to Ciryl, like you were talking about there, Andrew. So I'm not convinced his gas tank's going to be there round 2, round 3. And at the end of the day, I still do think Rob Font's a good gatekeeper. You touched on the wins over Kyler Phillips and Gene Matsumoto. Well, neither of those guys are the level of grappler that Raul Rosas are. Both those guys aren't scrubs in the grappling department either. And Font held up fairly there, held up fine. Font's a way, way, way better striker than Raul Rosas Jr. Light years ahead of Raul Rosas Jr. in the striking department. So it's I think he's going to lose round 1. He's going to get wrestle fucked round 1. Raul Rosas will likely be on his back. He'll be fending off chokes, whatnot. Yes. Round 2 is going to start, and I think Raul Rosas Jr. might gas a little bit, especially if he's getting overzealous, just trying to attack stuff. If he has a body triangle as well, and he's just exerting all of round 1, trying to get Rob Font out of there. I could see round 2, Raul Rosas Jr. puffing a little bit heavy and being in a world of trouble here with Rob Font in front of him, just completely just throwing jabs in his face, just out. I don't know, man. It's a slippery slope, and if the gas tank goes, it's going to be a long night for Raul Rosas. Yeah,
I actually think it's a perfect test for him. It's probably a little early for a ranked opponent, quite honestly. You can develop this kid a little bit more, but they need talent. Look at where he's at versus where Peyton Talbot, who's 2 years older than him or 3 years older than him, at. It's night and day, right? But once again, Peyton had to lose to to unlock his full potential, and now he's championship potential. So it's a good step up in competition. I am curious to see. I think there's a possibility Raul gets him out very early. I think he gets him down, chokes him out. Wouldn't be surprised. But I agree. Rob Font, stall early. Trust your game plan, trust your coaching, and implement his boxing. His boxing's so good. So freaking good. So, Yeah, it's a cool matchup. It really is. I don't know why they didn't do it in Mexico last week, but
I think they were trying to actually, but
I wouldn't be shocked. He's a star in Mexico. Raul's a star in Mexico. So
yeah, and one more thing, just shout out New England. I'm a big New England cartel guy, so shout out them. Fuck yeah. Now, moving on here to our co-main event, Caio Borralho takes on Reinier de Ridder. Caio sits at almost a -300 favorite here. Both men looking to rebound. Caio coming off the loss to Imavov, RDR from Brendan Allen. Andrew, which of the two do you see rebounding here?
I cannot believe the line is this big. The line was so big, I had to go back and check if it was a 5-round fight. Because that to me was the only explanation as to like, how is RDR this big of an underdog? Caio Borralho is very good. Not get me wrong. He has put on some elite performances, and I know that the Imavov fight last year wasn't great, and he kind of looked like a deer stuck in headlights. But before that, like totally outstruck Jared Cannonier, ran through Paul Craig in the second round. Like he's legit. He's a great fighter. But Reinier de Ridder before that Brendan Allen fight was on a wild run. The Bo Nickel win is impressive, but going 5 rounds with Robert Whittaker, winning and like being as competitive as he was, like that's a legit win. Like you could argue to me that Reinier de Ridder has better wins in the UFC than Caio Borralho does. Like I think beating Robert Whittaker is more impressive than beating Jared Cannonier. I think beating Bo Nickel is probably more impressive than beating Paul Craig. He has a win over GM3, who's no slouch either. Like Kevin Holland, submitted Kevin Holland. Like Reinier de Ridder is legit. And if all of those injuries and stuff that he has been talking about that were plaguing him going into that fight in Vancouver last year were real, maybe we're going to see a Reinier de Ridder. So I'm actually picking Reinier de Ridder in this fight. If it was a pick 'em, I would pick RDR. Like I feel pretty confident that he is going to be able to implement his Dutch kickboxing, get the fight to the ground. He is so suffocating on top. It's interesting because I agree with you. Both guys had pretty severe setbacks last year and feel like they are really far outside looking in at the 185-pound title picture. My question for you is like, what's the path if you're Caio Borralho, right? Because you assume you're going to have to stuff some takedowns. Is the path just circle outside, use your kickboxing, trust your power? That's the problem I'm seeing is I'm trouble seeing how he wins. Like where is his best path to victory for being a -300 favorite?
I think he should just outstrike RDR pretty. I think that's kind of what everyone's thinking. And I guess the flip side of it, man, is I was kind of wondering how RDR is going to win this fight, because I thought RDR is going to have to get him down to the ground to win this fight. And I don't see how RDR is how he's going to get his takedowns on Caio Borralho, because a lot of his takedowns, he sort of relies on his physicality, right? He kind of just out bullies people. And I don't see that working with Caio Borralho. Is he going to get into the clinch and trip him? He's not going to shoot from the open. RDR doesn't really do that. So like, I'm struggling to see how RDR gets the fight down to the ground. And if he's unable to, I think Caio should just be able to outstrike RDR. The problem with Caio, though, is he doesn't throw tremendous volume. And that's the thing either. He kind of just coasts. And he's not the most powerful guy either. So, yeah.
It's two dudes who, like, neither of us think are that good, right? Like, think, like, you or I would pick a couple middleweights to beat these guys. And I think that's why the fight is interesting. I worry about the physicality of Borralho, and I just worry about, like, RDR does such a good job of making it a just grind fest. Like, he just grinds you. Watch the first round. You know, everyone remembers the knee and the second round of Nickel, and, like, that was impressive. Watch the first round of the Bo Nickel fight. He's on the cage. He slips in sneaky elbows, shoulder shots, knees to the groin, like, not the groin, knees to the body, knees to the obliques. He does a really good job. Once you have somebody who can shuck all that stuff off, it's really problematic. Like I know, Anthony,
and that's what
Hernandez,
I think is going to happen here with Caio. I think Caio is too physical. So like, I don't know if that's going to work for RDR. It's like one of the few guys in the division where I'm like, this is one of the few guys that I don't think you can just bully to the ground. And even then, like, Caio's a competent grappler as well. Now, not to the level of RDR, but he's not going to look like a fish out of water if the fight gets to the ground either. So it's not like one of those fights where I'm like, oh man, if this gets to the ground, like, he's fucked. Like, you'll have some fights where you know it, right? This one, I'm like, okay. I mean, if he gets him down on the ground, is he gonna just? is that going to be the round? Like, that's more so where my mind's going to go. Like, is he able to get up in enough time to still win this round? How much control time are we talking about? Is he able to land damage here on the ground? Like, I'm not sitting here like, fuck, man, if Kyle gets taken down, he's screwed. So that's the other thing too, man. Like, I don't think RDR is just head over heels better than Caio Borralho in the grappling department either, man.
Yeah. I will say my one prediction that I do feel really strongly about this fight is I think it's going to go the distance, and I think there's a chance it's really ugly. Like, yeah, RDR does not fight pretty. That fight against Robert Whittaker was a grind fest, and Caio doesn't throw a lot of output. So I think it's going to be like a slow, like this is actually a fight I think would be well served for 5 rounds, just so you can see who's better over time, because like, there's a chance there's a round like RDR is just kind of sitting on you and does some damage, and like that's the round. And then Caio's circling from the outside and lands a couple leg kicks or something. So it's a weird fight. It's a really weird fight. It's a grind. It's gonna be a grindy fight, but I kind of think Reinier de Ridder gets back into the win column. We'll see. We'll see.
I will say too, man, like even if you look back at Caio Borralho's last fight when he took that loss to Imavov, a lot of people talk about Caio Borralho as a guy with great fight IQ. I'm going to be honest, man. I felt like he lacked to make adjustments in that fight with Imavov and really fought the same fight 5 rounds over. And I thought he lost that fight 50-45 across the board. So now you're kind of making me second guess myself with Caio Borralho here. And let's just say, like, if I was factoring in odds from a betting perspective here, I wouldn't be picking Caio Borralho. But if I'm talking about straight up picking a fight, who do I think is going to win? Yeah, I'm going to lean with Caio, and the minus 290 line, I guess agrees with that, but it is a bit fucking egregious, man. So I don't know. You got me second guessing myself.
I think plus 240 for Reinier de Ridder against someone that like is good but isn't really that good. Like I think Robert Whittaker's a better fighter than Caio Borralho, right? And like MMA math doesn't work, but like there's something there. So we'll see. We'll see. It's a weird fight. It's an interesting fight. It's a weird fight. You know, and winner puts themselves in like winner probably is fighting Anthony Hernandez, quite honestly.
Yeah. No, not a, or even like, because what's going to happen, because you have Imavov there and you have Sean there, and now you have Fluffy. So I guess there's multiple guys there, but moving on, our main event of the evening. And this one even has some extra implications, because a few people have been reporting that the winner might be in line to fight the notorious Conor McGregor at International Fight Week in July. So something to keep in mind there. The winner might get a red panty night, but our main event here, we have another rematch as Max Blessed Holloway takes on Charles Du Bronx Oliveira. Now, while initially looking into this fight, everything to me just screamed Max Holloway, and I still am fully on Max Holloway in this fight. The one thing that actually concerned me, the more research I went back and did, is, dude, Max Holloway's never really fought a submission specialist in his UFC career, and there has been one man to attempt a submission on Max Holloway in his UFC career, and that is Dustin Poirier, who did it back in their first meeting when he ended up submitting Max Holloway via armbar, and then he did it again when he jumped the guillotine in their last fight. So no one attempts subs here on Max Holloway. Charles Oliveira will likely look to. Andrew, which side are you going with here in our main event for this BMF title fight?
I think it's a really intriguing fight. I really do. Ignore like the name value, like that it's 2 of the 10 most popular fighters in the sport. But from like a stylistic perspective, I don't think people are billing this enough as a pure striker versus grappler matchup. Like, I truly think that each guy's path to victory is through striking or through grappling. And some people will argue it's not that black and white, but I actually think it is. Like, to me, when I think about what Max Holloway has done at 155 pounds in his last 2 fights, he has been so freaking good. And he has outstruck dudes who I rate so highly. I know Dustin was at the end of his career, but Max was spinning circles around Dustin Poirier. He got caught in the second round, but basically besides that, he looked damn good. And then obviously against Justin Gaethje, he looked fantastic. But my one worry about Max Holloway going into this weekend is that he's not scared to throw any weapons against Justin Gaethje or against Dustin Poirier, right? I was talking about this with one of my boys today. What's been Max's like best adjustment recently? That spinning back kick, his lead leg body kick, and his spinning back kick. And those are weapons where, you know, against Justin Gaethje, like whatever, you can throw him. Against Charles Oliveira, you have to think about it. You have to think about it because there is a real grappling risk. And so I have kind of been in the same boat where when the fight got announced, I was like, all right, I think Max is just going to piece him up on the feet. I think he's just going to use his boxing, use his movement, and he's going to be too much. He's looked too good. But the other thing that is beginning to sway me in the other direction is ignore the Ilia Topuria fight for a second. Besides that fight, the last 2 fights Charles Oliveira has had was the Michael Chandler fight and then the Mateusz Gamrot fight in Brazil last year. And in both of those fights, Charles employed more offensive wrestling than I think we have seen out of him in a long time. I don't know the numbers, but I rewatched the Chandler fight back last week, the second one, and he's basically just shooting takedowns. Like he's shooting takedowns, getting the fight to the ground because he has such a confidence in his ability with ground and pound and with offensive grappling. And he did basically the same thing against Mateusz Gamrot and had a lot of success there. And so I expect Charles to come out very takedown heavy. I think that's his game plan. And so it's an interesting fight. I want to hear your perspective on it before I give my pick and stuff like that. But I really do think it's a black and white striker versus grappler. Max on the feet is so good. Charles is not good enough defensively, but on the ground, that's Charles's wheelhouse.
So first with Charles Oliveira here, I'm still not sold that Charles Oliveira is in the prime of his career, to be quite honest with you. 36 years old, will be 37 years old this year. And a win over Mateusz Gamrot aged terribly, to be quite honest with you. Like Mateusz Gamrot, also the guy who lost to Dan Hooker, who just got fucking absolutely ragdolled by Arman Sarukian. Dan Hooker, who also got beat up by BSD. Like Mateusz Gamrot, that win, it doesn't really do much for me. The win prior to that, Michael Chandler, well, quite frankly, that does way less for me too. I mean, Michael Chandler has been past his prime for what, like 5 years now? So that win does nothing for me. And prior to that, his most recent win is Beneil Dariush in 23, which again, does absolutely nothing for me. So Charles Oliveira hasn't been beating the who's hims as of recent, and not to necessarily his fault. I guess to an extent it is. I mean, you have the loss to Arman Saruki and Ilia Topuria. On the other hand, Max Holloway has been beating those guys recently, and both those guys that he put those beatings down on, being Justin Gaethje and, well, I guess he actually lost to Ilia after Gaethje now that I'm thinking about it, but whatever. Talking about at 155, as far as Gaethje goes and Dustin Poirier, do you think that Charles Oliveira could withstand those beatings?
I mean, he has.
Against
he
who?
has. He beat Justin Gaethje. He beat a prime Justin Gaethje. He beat a prime Dustin Poirier. He beat
but prime Justin Gaethje, that was 1 round. Do you think he's
beat him? He choked him out.
Sure. It was a 3-minute fight. That's not the beating that I'm talking about. Max Holloway, like the beating he put on Justin Gaethje, like Charles Oliveira is not getting to the 5th round there, bro. Charles Oliveira is out of there in 3. The beating he put on Dustin Poirier, same way there, man. Charles Oliveira is done when he gets dropped there. And I think the problem that Justin Gaethje made, same thing that Dustin Poirier made, the problem that they had when they fought Charles Oliveira is that when they dropped him, they didn't fall him down to the ground and finish him. They allowed him to get back up on his feet because Charles Oliveira is not finishing you from his guard. So that's one thing that, like,
he might.
When is Charles? No, he's not.
He might.
Charles Oliveira is best when he's on your back, man. And if you're Dustin Poirier, you're a BJJ black belt, and you knock him, you got to go and chase that finish down to the ground, bro. You cannot be intimidated by Charles Oliveira's grappling there. And that's where they both fucked up. And when Islam Makhachev dropped him, what'd he do? Followed him down. See you later, Charles Oliveira. You're out of there.
That's different. It's a different skill set. Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier don't have the offensive grappling output that Islam.
I don't think he needed. Yeah, but I don't think he needed the offensive grappling output. I think it's like Charles Oliveira hasn't. It's his last resort, bro. Your pulling guard is his last resort. He's fucking rocked, and not falling him down to the ground is what he wants you to do, bro. He wants to recover, and you're allowing him to recover. And that's exactly the game he wants you to play. Yes, he doesn't want you to follow him down and rain an elbow. And that's where I think both those guys fucked up that fight. Now, if Max Holloway gets in that flow state like he did against both Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira is not withstanding that beating, dude. He's going to be out of there. And I'm very, very confident in that. And Max Holloway carries a different power at 155, dude. We've seen it. He hits a lot harder at 55 than he does at 45. And I don't think Charles Oliveira's chin is going to be able to take that. And I wasn't sold that his chin was recovered. After he lost to Ilia Topuria, I was like, this guy is fucked. And once that matchup was made with Rafael Fiziev, I was like, I think this guy's still fucked. And then Fiziev had to pull out. Gamrot comes in. He picks up the win there. And that just changes everyone's perspective here on Bronx. In my opinion, I still think he's fucked. And I think Max Holloway is going to find that off button. And I think he's going to put him out. Like, I think this night's going to end with Bronx out. And I don't know, man. I feel fairly confident that Max Holloway will be able to get the job done there. Now, if Charles Oliveira is able to go on.
Let me provide for you some devil's advocate. I actually favor Max Holloway in the fight, funny enough. But Max has been dropped in his last 3 fights, right? Was dropped against Justin Gaethje,
Yes.
was knocked out by Ilia Topuria, was dropped by Dustin Poirier. Like he's not indestructible Max anymore. Like he also is on the back end of his career. Maybe not as far as Charles Oliveira has, but there is an argument that Max has shown to be more chinny as of late than Charles. Because Charles obviously got lit up by Ilia Topuria, but the Arman Tsarukyan fight was really close. Both guys are chinny. Like Charles got clipped by Chandler twice.
But this
and
is
hasn't fought the level.
It's an impossible. Yeah. Because you're talking about fighting Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier. What do they have in their hands compared to Mateusz Gamrot? And
Charles
Arman's
was
world
also
class,
dropped.
but he's not. Yeah.
And Charles was also dropped by those guys. Like both guys are chinny. Like that's true. I don't think it's going the distance. But so I think that's a factor. Like I don't think Charles on the feet is that's his way to win the fight. But I truly feel that people are underrating the offensive ground game of Charles Oliveira. Like he's really scary on the ground. He's really, I mean, Mateusz Gamrot out-grappled Arman Tsarukyan. Like Mateusz Gamrot's pretty good on the ground. He's old now. He didn't look good against Benoit Saint-Denis, who's also very good. But Charles Oliveira offensively has good pressure. I don't like him on the feet. I just think stylistically it's a nightmare on the feet. That's why he's the favorite in the fight, is because what are you going to come forward against Max Holloway? Like, you're going to get lit up. Like, firmly am acknowledging that. That's why I believe Max Holloway will win the fight. I think he's slippery enough where he'll be able to shuck some takedowns and win. But if you come to me Sunday morning and go, look, it was competitive, Max landed some bombs early, Charles landed a takedown and jumped on his back and choked him out, like, we haven't seen Max have to deal with that stuff. And it's usually because he's so good, and it's usually because he can put on a pace early. But the Max now is not the Max that you had 4 years ago that was, beating Arnold Allen and all those guys. So we'll see. It's competitive. I'm picking Max Holloway by round 4 KO because I believe that he is so much better on the feet. He will show levels, and I think he will wear down Bronx over time. I think the one thing that has gotten so much better in Max's game is his ability. He's always been a volume guy, but at 55, he hits so much harder. And I think you saw him wear on Justin Gaethje so much and wear on Dustin Poirier so much. But don't discredit Bronx. He's crafty.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree. Obviously, he's the best submission specialist in the sport's history. So, obviously, there's no disagreement there on just the offensive grappling upside of Charles Oliveira. It's all completely understood. Max Holloway doesn't get wrestled. He doesn't get grappled. And I don't know if that's because of who he's fought or just the way in which he fights. And I think that's going to be something very interesting and something to keep an eye on come Saturday night. How is Charles Oliveira able to take him down? Is he able to shoot from the open? No. So that's where I'm really curious. Is he able to just drag him down, triple? Is he just a few trips? How is he getting him down to the ground, do you think?
I think he has to wrestle. I think he shot you shooting takedowns against Chandler and Gamrot. I think he has to wrestle. And that's the game. That's part of the game he's developed. Is there
any world in which he pulls Max Holloway into his guard?
Maybe. I don't think so. No, I don't think Max would be in it. I think Max would tell him to stand up. Max isn't going to follow Charles to the ground. He's not good enough.
What if he's pulling him into his guard? Do you think he would legitimately try to pull him into his guard just to get down to the ground, or do you think he'd be like?
Yeah, I think he would. I think Charles Oliveira on the ground is one of the best finishers in the history of the sport. And so I think any way he gets to the ground is good. But in the clinch, he's good, right? Did good work against Dariush in the clinch in that first round, who's a solid grappler. Charles scares me on the ground. I wouldn't want to fight Charles. That's a thing. He can be hit. He can be hit on the feet. He's defensively not good enough on the feet, and that's what has caused him problems and his shortcomings. right? Coming forward, getting hit. That's how he got knocked out by Makhachev before he got submitted. That's how he got knocked out by Ilia Topuria. That's how he got clipped by Chandler in the second fight. Like, he comes forward and he gets cracked. But if you can't put him away and he gets to fight to the ground, he's the best in the world.
And you mentioned something that actually genius. He's going to have to get to the clinch in order to take down Max Holloway. Pretty damn confident in that. And I think Max has the footwork and he's able to maintain distance well enough to kind of keep Charles Oliveira out of the clinch. And that's the big thing too. So again, very, very interesting. But before we wrap this up, I think we want to do a little bet segment. Do you have some bets you want to give out here before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I just thought pay-per-view weekend, we should give some good stuff. So the first one I'm looking at is Reinier de Ridder moneyline plus 240. We talked about this at nausea. I'll have a post on my page with the full bets, but that's going to be, we're going to have a solid chunk of change on that. I don't see Caio Borralho as a minus 300 favorite against Reinier de Ridder. Just don't think he had deserved that line. I don't think he's looked good enough. Don't think he carries crazy power in the hands. I think he's a good defensive striker. But I think Reinier de Ridder is very good and will surprise people. And I had success with Reinier de Ridder against Bo Nickel in Iowa last year. So I like Reinier de Ridder plus 240. What's one you've got? I've got a couple others, but what's another one you got?
So I like the Dante Johnson by KO here. KO, TKO, DQ. Lines are not yet out yet. I do not believe. I was looking earlier today, but at the end of the day here, man, Cody Garbrandt is pretty damn chinny. He's coming off that most recent TKO loss to Cam Rouston just a month ago. Granted, it wasn't like he was rocked, put down, and put away. I mean, obviously he was cleared to fight again so quickly. So that kind of speaks about the power of that TKO and the effects it had. I guess not too much, but Johnson does have some serious power. And depending on the line, maybe I would take by finish because I could see a club and sub. Like you could see Cody Garbrandt get rocked, shoot in for a takedown, and Dante Johnson sub him in something. But Dante Johnson's not too much of a sub guy, so I like the KO there.
I like that one. And Cody Garbrandt sucks. Another one I like, Raul Rosas Jr. by submissions plus 350. You and I both talked about the shortcomings of Rob Font's ground game. I think there's a scenario where Raul just wins this by decision, and that's what he's favored to do. But maybe a little sprinkle, plus 350, Raul Rosas Jr. by sub. Could definitely see him, jump in the back of Rob Font, sinking in a rear naked choke or something like that.
Yeah, not a bad line there. Not a bad line there at all. But I think I was actually going to touch on that fight as well. Like I think I'm probably going to touch like a Rob Font money line, but
yeah, which is fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
I mean, just if you're talking about throwing a dog shot here, I'd probably lean Rob Font. I mean, he is probably the lone dog that I will be siding with on this main card as far as like my actual picks go that we'll put out on the graphic. But with all that being said, that's all I got on my end, Andrew. I do not know if you have anything you want to add before we get on out of here.
Yeah, the last one I liked was the Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira over 2.5 at minus 170. I don't really feel like there's a path like really early for each of these guys. Like I guess Charles could walk into something that just absolutely cracks him, but I don't feel like Max hits hard. I don't feel like he hits that hard. And maybe Charles gets that sub early, but I just don't see it. Like I kind of think these guys are going to feel each other out a little bit. Don't think they're just going to be throwing at the wind. Max is not a guy who sits and chucks. Like he's a tap you and then circle kind of guy. So I kind of like the over 2.5 minus 175 as well. That was just my last one. So there are a couple bets for you. We'll see how they do this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully we have a good weekend. But with all that being said, Andrew, thank you for taking the time to join me tonight. For everyone listening, thank you for taking the time to listen. Really appreciate it. Drop a like, sub, everything. It's all greatly appreciated. And hope you all have a great UFC 326.
Yes, sir. Peace. Thank you so much, Zach.
Yes, sir.